If indeed we prove in the weeks and months ahead that that was indeed Prime Minister Trudeau on that plane coming back from the Caribbean, I got to tell you, I can hardly wait to see him spin this answer. Parting question, Guy, what do you think he'll say if it was indeed him traveling, in terms of going away, that he wasn't clear on the rules, or he thought this was in the best interest of his family? I mean, I just can't believe it.
Well, maybe I could give you a bit of intro. There'd be a lot of ums and ers, but David, you know, all kidding aside, we're in a very serious state in this country right now, and Justin Trudeau is definitely not serving the needs of Canadians.
Well, folks, during the Christmas holiday break, we knew that some people weren't necessarily staying at home, were they? And I speak, of course, of several MPs, MPPs, MLAs who jet-setted off to such fun-in-the-sun destinations as the Caribbean and Hawaii. But the question arises, what about the big kahuna himself, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau? There is so much speculation out there that perhaps the Prime Minister himself snuck away for a little fun in the sun too. But is it true or false? Well, joining me right now to answer that question is Guy Annabel of the Ottawa-based Capital Voice. And Guy, I understand while many of us were taking it easy over the Christmas break at home, you were on your computer tracking flights into and out of Canada, and you have a theory that perhaps demonstrates that maybe some very important person in Ottawa took a trip to the Caribbean. Can you explain, please?
That's right, David. Thanks for having me on. Over the New Year's break period, especially focusing on New Year's Eve day, December 31st, we and a bunch of patriots and myself took a task to track the equipment ID of the 5 government Challenger Series 600 jets on FlightTracker24.com. There was a lot of flights, a lot of high-end jets going in and out of the Caribbean, but we knew from our past research that the Canadian government jets did not need to fly with a to and from destination and embarking place. So we went with some information. The lack of information actually showed us on the flight dockets that these Challenger Series 600 jets leaving from Ottawa and also from Toronto going to States of Sun and Sunnyways Airlines on your dime and on your time. But who was flying the jets is in fact the big question, as we're seeing, David.
Yeah, and indeed, and you've taken screen captures, of course, Guy, of those planes on those flight paths. And, you know, I guess an obvious question to ask is, was that indeed the Prime Minister? Now, I should say, Guy, I reached out to the Prime Minister's office, to their media relations person, to ask if Mr. Trudeau took off during the holiday period. I'm afraid I haven't even received an answer to my query. And you'd think if the answer was no, they would automatically say so. So what other kind of evidence or what other kind of theory can we rely upon, Guy, here to indicate that maybe indeed Justin Trudeau was not in our great Dominion as he was warning everybody else to stay at home?
Well, I think the best evidence, David, lies on a couple of pictures that are circulating, and also the picture of the 2 jets, Government of Canada jets that landed at 3:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on January the 4th in Ottawa. Its transponder went off at 3:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Therefore, you could no longer track the flight because it had no to and from info. So you can only track these flights when they're live in the air. And that was, again, we had the pictures at Uplands and him being extracted out the side door at Rideau Road and Alert Road. He didn't even hit the terminal. He didn't even hit the reception center. Now, don't forget, David, that flight did take a stop in Toronto, So a number of ATIPs have been filed, and I'm sure Rebel will be filing one as well for the flight logs for the period in question, December 24th to January the 6th. Basically, we know at the cell phones lit up around 1:30, 2 o'clock. The famous canned photo of Justin in front of his computer at Rideau Cottage, I may add, where they said he was at Harrington. So a little bit of a mistake there by the press people at the PMO. And what we have now, David, is a lot of speculation. We've even got some new photos of a beach shot of somebody who looks very close to Justin Trudeau being served by a masked server on the beach. And that is now circulating. I did not verify that. I did not obtain that. It is now going along the internet. But David, you know, past behavior equals future behavior. And you said it in the opening, rules for thee and not for me. But we have the evidence, and Rebel News is obviously the only real media company covering it. I tweeted out to Glenn McGregor when he tweeted on January the 2nd, you know, where is Justin? Can you confirm that where he is? And he's tweeted back out, I have confirmed with the PMO that Justin Trudeau is hunkered down at Harrington Lake, amid wide speculation on Twitter that he is in the Barbados. Now that's where it really took off, because the hashtag, where is Justin Trudeau, interestingly enough, David, has been totally wiped from Twitter. Where is Justin and where in Justin Trudeau had over 5,000 mentions and retweets. It is now wiped off Twitter.
Wow, isn't that, I mean, there's been so much, shall we say, impolite content wiped from Twitter in the last week for sure, Guy. But, you know, I've got to ask you, I mean, you say evidence. I should point out that right now it's all circumstantial evidence, because we don't know for sure, and I'm going to give the Prime Minister the benefit of the doubt until we hear that. You are right. We will, as you have, file a Freedom of Information request. But another question arises, Guy. Why, you know, we're asking these questions, you and your colleagues are asking these questions and putting in hours of legwork tracking these planes. Why isn't the mainstream media on this?
Well, I think we all know that answer, David. Bought and paid for. The parliamentary parrot himself, Glenn McGregor. Look, you know, he wouldn't even take a camera crew up to Harrington Lake. If you wanted to get rid of any speculation that Justin Trudeau was in the Barbados and he was actually at Harrington Lake, wouldn't you take a camera crew up there and do a shot of him frolicking in the snow with his lovely wife and kids? I would.
You know, Guy, I have to say, though, if indeed this is provable in the weeks, the months ahead, maybe a year, there's so many delays in terms of getting around to ATIP requests in Ottawa these days. But if we indeed prove that the Prime Minister himself did this, I mean, you know, for goodness sakes, we've seen what's happened, the fallout for all these other elected officials. We've had resignations, we've had firings. What will Justin Trudeau say about this if indeed he was the person on that flight that landed in Ottawa on January the 4th?
And who did he drop off in Toronto? And there's a whole other questions around the other flight to Barbados, David, and one from the Bahamas. I think the overarching question is, who was using government jets on the taxpayer dime during a supposed lockdown period in which our eminent leader, Justin Trudeau, said to stay at home, stay safe, wash your hands.
We saw the Prime Minister convicted of ethics violations, the blackface scandal, SNC Lavalin. I mean, for goodness sakes, the list just goes on and on and on. Where do you begin with the scandals? Yet he came very close to another majority government. I'm wondering, even if this is indeed provable, does this count for the proverbial hill of beans, Guy? The fact that he snuck off, or is the Canadian public so forgiving of this Prime Minister and of this Liberal Party that it's never mind?
Yeah, throw it on the pile. You know, we don't even have a properly functioning federal police department that would open an investigation for SNC Lavalin. There was clear judicial interference with regards to his actions and the actions of Gerald Butts in that SNC scandal.
Well, you know, Guy, we're going to have to wrap it here. Like I said earlier, I did reach out to the PMO, and asked about his whereabouts. They haven't answered my question, so I find that setting off my spidey senses a little bit. And secondly, if indeed we prove in the weeks and months ahead that that was indeed Prime Minister Trudeau on that plane coming back from the Caribbean, I got to tell you, I can hardly wait to see him spin this answer. Parting question, Guy. What do you think he'll say if it was indeed him traveling, in terms of going away, that he wasn't clear on the rules, or he thought this was in the best interest of his family? I mean, I just can't believe it.
Well, maybe I could give you a bit of intro. There'd be a lot of ums and ers, but David, all kidding aside, we're in a very serious state in this country right now, and Justin Trudeau is definitely not serving the needs of Canadians with regards to his flagrant actions. And again, this is just throw it on the pile. This is just another one for the Trudeau scandal file. And again, will we ever know? Will maybe Ezra get a nice gray redacted thing back from the Air Force or Transport Canada that shows some of the facts, like he did on his excellent reporting on the Chinese troops in Canada? Where did we get the real news, David? We got the real news on Rebel News. That's where we got the real news.
Guy, I want to thank you again. And folks, that was Guy Annabel of the Capital Voice in Ottawa. As far as if that was indeed Justin Trudeau on that aircraft, well, we'll see what our FOIs dig up in the months ahead. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Vote early, vote often.
Hey folks, are you a business owner and you are sick and tired of the authorities telling you to keep your store closed? Well, if you plan to open up illegally, I want to hear about it. Please go to iwillopen.com. That's iwillopen.com.